I host a supper club here in Gothenburg, Sweden, and this time we sold out in less than 24 hours. In this video, I'm taking you through the final week of prep. There's so much that happens before the guests arrive, from the big grocery runs to those tiny details that no one even thinks of. This is the reality behind the scenes and how I built the NeitherNor experience. So, let's get into it. Welcome to Tuesday, which is basically my planning day, and I really can't plan anything without a cup of hot chai, preferably in my booby cup. This menu itself had been set weeks ago, so at this point it wasn't about deciding dishes anymore, but it was more about breaking everything down properly. This included making the grocery list, figuring out every single component, and making sure I'm not forgetting something stupid that will ruin my life later. Because every dish sounds very manageable until you start listing down the ingredients, and suddenly each one has like 12 different things in it. So I went through the menu dish by dish and turned it into an actual shopping list. And I took out my notebook and rewrote the menu again, but this time breaking down the components for each plate. It's basically my way of double checking that everything makes sense before I start cooking. And this is after me also vigorously testing recipes and ideas beforehand. I also like sketching the table setup and plating at this stage. They are extremely questionable drawings, like genuinely terrible, but it helps me visualize what the final setup would look like, gain some structure, and also remove any guesswork during the dinner. Once everything was broken down, I just figured out the plan of action for the week, when to start what, how long would something take, etc. And once all of that was done, I sent out the final email to the guests with the address and all details. After that very productive day, I did what any responsible adult would do and watched Bridgerton. Huge mistake, because spoiler alert, when John dies, I was not emotionally prepared for that. Fully crying, tears and all. But that was Tuesday. So it's Thursday and I am now going to the city center. Oh, the wind. And now I'm going to the city center to pick up the paper so I can write the little notes that I do for every guest. And then I need to go to multiple shops to get groceries for the Saturday. And the weather is shit. Like, it's freezing and foggy and okay, bye. I am obsessed with the store. It's called Room for Paper and it's basically every artist's dream. Even though I'm definitely not one, being here gives me the vibes of maybe definitely being one. Anyway, I grabbed the paper I needed and then just spent some time wandering around the city to see if I could find anything cool for table decor. I didn't end up buying anything, so I just eventually made my way to buy groceries for the dinner. I love Hem Shop. It's a bit on the pricier side, sure, but the ingredients are just better and they have so many more options for everything. I quickly filled up the cart and Vivek joined me at the perfect time to help lug all those bags back home. Next was unloading. Our fridge is super tiny, so it's always a game of Tetris trying to fit everything in the right spot. And whatever didn't need to be chilled got tucked away into baskets. I then did a quick test of the filter coffee to figure out the right proportions for the dinner and then moved on to the big final task, writing the guest letters on that paper that I bought earlier. I usually do this on Wednesdays, but I decided to club the shopping and errands together to avoid making multiple trips. It made for a long day, but it was worth it. I zoned out for a bit there, but anyway, writing these letters always takes me a while. I'm a slow writer and I definitely take my breaks, but the end result is so worth it. Guests always feel that extra bit of love when they see a handwritten note waiting for them. Then came the actual final task of the night, peeling the pomegranate. I did that while finally catching the season finale of Bridgerton and then called it a night. Hello, welcome to a very gloomy Friday. I just had my breakfast and now I'm going to go to a local French bakery to pick up the brioche that I ordered. And this brioche is going to be part of the dessert. There was no way that I could make a brioche. I have never made one and I didn't have the time to test a recipe. So, trust your local vendors and trust your local bakery experts to do it for you. I actually pre-ordered a loaf for last week and I tested the recipe and it was so good that I am really excited for this dessert. And while coming back, I'm just going to drop in by the Indian store to pick up some coconut, which we will be using a lot for tomorrow. It's going to be used in the Kori Gassi and for the chutney and just a little bit for the Goli Baje. So yeah, let's go. Time to put on my shoes. I don't know why I'm vlogging this. It's really boring. Bye. So I got ready and hopped on a tram to the bakery. In classic fashion, it was cloudy and raining, but a quick walk later, I made it. I have picked up the brioche and only you could smell how good it is. Like, you can smell the butter. So now all I have to do is protect the brioche from this Gothenburg rain while I just make my way to the Indian store. The Indian store is pretty close to my apartment, only about 1.5 kilometers away. So once I finished up there, I just walked back home. Alexa, play Overnight by the Parcels. Today was the big prep day. I like to knock out as many tasks as possible now, so the actual dinner day isn't total chaos. It's all about saving that energy for hosting once the guests actually arrive. First up on the list, chopping all of the veg. I started with onions, slicing some for the Kori Gassi masala, and then dicing the rest for the base of the Gassi. If you didn't know, Gassi basically means curry in layman terms in coastal Karnataka. Next was the garlic, and we had a lot of it. We're talking garlic for the toom, the chutney, the curry, and the shawarma marinade. After that, I prepped the ginger for the Goli Baje and the curry before moving on to the masala paste for the Kori Gassi. This recipe of Kori Gassi is actually super easy, but it packs so much flavor. The key here is making sure the spices are roasted perfectly and the veggies are cooked down really well. But the secret here is in the chili, and especially using Byadgi chili. I have the full detailed recipe on my website if you'd like to try to make it at home. I will link it in the description below. While that was cooling, I started the shawarma marinade. It's a Lebanese style marinade and easily my absolute favorite. This one's also on the website if you're interested, linked below. I just added some boneless, skinless chicken thighs and that was it. Super easy and done in literally 10 minutes. Now back to the Gassi masala. It all goes into the blender with some coconut and tamarind pulp until the consistency is just right. Once that was done, it was time for prepping the chicken. For a Gassi like this, using bone-in chicken is crucial. There is so much flavor in the bone that you just cannot get with boneless. I used a mix of both so guests can have options, but that bone-in flavor is the real secret. Now we're going to multitask. One burner was for the Gassi and the other was for a pomegranate molasses. The molasses is for the shawarma and it's one of those set and forget it things where you just let the stove do all of the work. Making Kori Gassi for me feels like a full circle moment. My mom always made this for us growing up, so it's a really special way to share that joy with people who might not have tried this kind of cuisine before. Anyway, while those were doing its thing, I moved on to the tamarind date jaggery chutney, also known as sweet chutney for the Aloo Rosti chaat. This was another plop everything in a pot kind of situation. So with three things going on the stove, I started the coriander mint chutney. The only thing that needed some work was prepping the mint and coriander, but I quickly got that done and just dumped that along with some ginger, garlic and green chili in a blender and boom, another task done. Next was the sweet yogurt, just sugar and Greek yogurt. This was for the chaat too, and you just have to mix it really well to get a flowy consistency, which literally took me 3 minutes. And that's another one down, friends. The last condiment for the evening was the toom. I usually use a big blender for large batches, but since this was a smaller amount, the immersion blender worked perfectly. It's just garlic, neutral oil once I got the top off, and lemon juice blended in intervals until it's thick and creamy. By then the molasses and sweet chutney were finished, so once they cooled down, I tucked them into containers as well. I also decided to cook off the chicken for the shawarma today. I'm using the oven for the dessert tomorrow and I didn't want any lingering chicken smells or oil in the air. Plus this gives me time to give the oven a quick wipe down beforehand. I almost forgot I had one last thing, a quick garlic and cucumber pickle for the shawarma. And now I am finally done with prep day 1. I woke up around 7 a.m., definitely tired but feeling fresh enough to jump straight into it. I did my quick morning routine, had some water, and I was ready. Let's start. First up on the to-do list, garnishes. I prepped some coriander for the Gassi and the Chaat, and I also prepped some onions and tomatoes, which were both for the Chaat. Next was the strawberry compote. You can use frozen strawberries here, but I really wanted fresh ones as a topping for the dessert, and I didn't want to end up with too many berries by buying both, so I just used fresh ones. You get what I mean, right? The compote itself is super simple, just strawberries, sugar, a squeeze of lemon, and a bit of vanilla. Then came the big job, rearranging the whole apartment. Usually our living room is set up for just the two of us, and the dining table is tucked against the window, which isn't exactly supper club vibes. So every time we host, we flip the entire room and I pull out a foldable table that fits 6 seats. I actually filmed a whole time lapse of us moving the furniture, but for some reason the footage just didn't save. What the heck? I guess that'll just have to be a mystery for the next video. Once the room was flipped, I set the table. I spent some time picking out the right linens, candlesticks, and decor to get the mood just right. By now, it was way past noon, so I started brewing the filter coffee decoction batch by batch. I also got the Goli Baje batter started since that needs at least a few hours to rest. The recipe of this is also on my website, which is linked in the description below. So while that was sitting, I whipped up the white chutney and kept the coffee rotation going on in the background. Then it was time to make the chantilly cream. I was aiming for soft peaks here so it would flow over the toast and have a really silky mouthfeel. Once I was happy with the texture and the flavor, I just put that into a container for it to rest till it was time for service. I also knocked out a few smaller tasks off for camera, like prepping the banana leaves for plating, toasting the pita, and mixing the honey butter for the dessert. The very last thing was grating the potatoes for the aloo rosti. This had to be done right before cooking it so that they would stay perfectly white and dry. The next thing to do was just set up the kitchen and the plating section, and we were done. I got myself ready, and honestly I was so happy to get everything done well before time to take a quick breather. The guests started arriving shortly after and the evening officially began. We kicked things off with the Bengaluru filter coffee. I honestly feel like starting the night with a drink just eases everyone into the space. Since the guests are strangers to me and to each other, it's that perfect little icebreaker to help everyone settle in. Once everyone was comfortable, we moved on to the shared appetizers. Crispy Goli Baje with white chutney and the Aloo Rosti chaat. There's something about sharing plates that always gets the conversation flowing, and I love serving it this way because it gives them a little glimpse of that family style vibe we have back home in India, where everyone takes as much as they want from the main dish and it's all super communal. Then we moved into the chicken shawarma. I served this open face since it was a mini course, and I added chips aman for that extra crunch. It was so good. For the main event, we had Kori Gassi with roti. Everyone loved it, and I'm pretty sure because guests were asking for seconds and even thirds. And while everyone was finishing their mains, I popped the brioche in the oven so it would still be warm for dessert. It turned out super amazing, and those plates were literally wiped off clean. Everyone stayed well after dinner ended, eventually heading out at around 11 p.m. Supper number 5 is officially done. Now it's time for our supper. Supper after dark. Good. Vivek and I had some leftover budgies, and I finally got to open this lovely gift from two of our guests, Sushma and Matthias. Wow.
It's dried.
Oh, yes. We also need dried flowers. Thank you. We had our own little supper after dark to end the night. Good morning. It's the next day, and I've been up for a few hours but on the bed. But now we need to reset the entire apartment, so I will go do that. Now the cleanup begins. I loaded the last round of the dishwasher in the morning, scrubbed the dishes that couldn't fit in the dishwasher, and gave the kitchen a full deep clean. Vents, cabinets, everything. A few hours later, the apartment was back to normal, and that's a wrap on this video.